Oh, hello. Welcome to another episode of Interjections, the Undiscovered Decade, a podcast where we discuss the 1990s and we look 30 years back on the month we're recording in and presenting in to see maybe a hidden gem that we've hoped to have dug up from that time period. We're in September 1993, and it's a little bit sad because we ended up discovering that over the course of the last few years, we lost a lot of the actors that were in this film, including our lead, unfortunately, to a degenerative disease. I wanted to see this a couple of years ago, and the opportunity came up for us to do it for the podcast. But since then, we covered him for Death Becomes Her, and he popped up for that other film, Billy Bathgate, back in the first season. So
Yeah.
I thought we'd go through Bruce Willis's career joyfully over the course of this podcast, but sadly he's obviously fighting that aphasia, but we can still look back on the film that he did in September 93 called Striking Distance. I almost guarantee no one remembers this or brings this up as one of his best, but it's a nice surprise. There's also, like I said, unfortunately, a slew of character actors like John Mahoney and Dennis Farina in the picture behind Corey that have passed away since this was made. A couple other people like Tom Sizemore. We covered him last month for Heart and Souls. He's back again. We thought we were going to have a fun double feature hit. This is like a banner year for Tom Sizemore, and he unfortunately passed away this past February. But for now, we're going to honor all their memories with
Robert Pastorelli
And
a few years ago.
Yeah, quite a while ago, actually.
it should be noted that we chose all of these film, like the entire slate of things we're doing this year, in January.
Yeah, we always pick it right as we do the best of. So even the week before January. So we didn't know any of this was going to happen. I mean, some of the older actors were gone for a while. Farina just passed away. His 10-year anniversary of his death just passed. So, you can't help that. But, I've liked all these people. Sarah Jessica Parker's still around. So this is
for now
the beginning of her career.
Yeah.
I know. This is the
There
thing.
should be an true Hollywood story about the curse
watch
of
out.
striking.
Let's get back on the positive track.
Yeah. I'm trying to say this is a good movie that we want to remember everyone from.
Yes.
So it's a hidden gem for all of them. It's a little bonkers. It's kind of a a lot of these 90s action thrillers go off the rails at certain points, and the premise of this has people coming back from the dead, serial killers at large that the cops can't stop, that they call individual cops to mention they're murdering someone for.
They really lean into the noir aspect of like a lot of women dying, but 90s style.
It's great. Within the first 5 minutes, Bruce Willis basically tells you exactly who the killer is and their motives. There's no mystery after that.
Yeah,
it's a solid thriller for the most part, and then it goes full 80s, even though it's the 90s. It's I meant to say 90s, but it's just with the canned music and everything, it just sounds like this would fit very well in Lifetime movie of the week.
Yeah,
especially because it's about a bunch of women dying.
Yeah. I mean, that was sort of the thing for this genre in the early 90s. There's still 80s music spilling into it. There's the Lifetime sensibility. So I get what you're talking about. But
has kind of a James Patterson murder mystery element to it.
Yeah.
You know what I
what's
think?
it about?
This movie would be if Lifetime was made for men. This is what this movie.
There's a lot of machismo in
A
this.
Spike TV.
But like rated Lifetime.
So basically what Jeff was alluding to was the plot. The plot is about
I kind of said it.
Well, yeah, the movie's set in Pittsburgh, which actually gives it part of its personality. So it's a little more distinctive than most action thrillers around that time period. And the original title for this was Three Rivers.
Yes. Yeah, which I think would have helped it with the marketing in the first place.
Would have been a better title, because like
Pittsburgh is on Three Rivers.
Yeah,
you know where it's
before
set.
Tristan and I watched this movie, he told me about that little snippet, and I was just like, okay. And then like from the whole movie on, I'm like, oh yeah, the Three Rivers. Completely forgetting it's called what's the name of the title again?
Striking.
Yeah.
It's also that women are placed in each river, so it's not just one location. So it is kind of a whole thing about the fact that the city's at the crux of these three rivers.
Right.
You know, it's very much a centerpiece of the film. And he becomes a boat cop because he's shamed from the Pittsburgh PD. So he has to go to what is considered the lowest of the low on security in the city.
Well, why don't we talk about why he's ostracized by the police force?
Mm-hmm.
He gives testimony that incriminates another police officer, which makes him persona non grata within that branch.
And not only is it just another cop, it's his cousin and his partner.
Right. Who ostensibly kills himself.
Same person. Yeah. Who kills himself right at the beginning of the film. And his father is played by Farina. So in that shot, you see the three of them. Mahoney plays Bruce Willis's father. Dennis Farina plays Robert Pastorelli's father and Bruce Willis's uncle. Right. So then there's another cousin who plays Robert Pastorelli's brother, Tom Sizemore, who we mentioned as well. When Pastorelli popped up in news reports in the beginning of the film, I thought it was Tom Sizemore. So that's brilliant casting. They look so much like each other.
Right.
After his
Rowdy Harrington does some. This is like a little off topic, but at the beginning they do a little forced perspective thing with a toy car that I thought was really clever cinematography. Almost reminded me of the Deadpool, the last.
Yeah, I made a comment about that when I was watching that with Tristan. I was like, we're watching a lot of early '90s movies with openings like involving like miniatures.
Yes,
I mean the Music of Chance. Theme. Music of Chance had all those miniatures in it, and Heart and Souls entered with that miniature scene and coming into that apartment. Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
that's a theme this year.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a cool design. I think it's best done for this film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rowdy Harrington. What else did we say he did?
He did Jack's Back. He did a serial killer with a movie with James Spader called Jack's Back, where he plays twins. Underrated movie. He also did a boxing movie that I think we covered, which was called Gladiator.
Yeah.
With Cuba Gooding Jr. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of this movie, I think it tanked his career.
You missed the big one, Roadhouse.
He did Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Roadhouse. So he's done a lot of guilty pleasure type movies.
Yeah. So this fits right in with Roadhouse as that.
So yeah, speaking of Bruce Willis, around this time period, he was kind of stuck in like action mode, and he famously had said around like the mid to late '90s that he kind of wanted to get out of being relegated to the action genre because, as we all know, he started off in Moonlighting. Brilliant comedic actor. Then Die Hard exploded. That was his big breakout on the big screen. So then he kind of got shoehorned into that genre. So this is still him trying to keep his head above water, no pun intended.
Yeah.
90s. But as we said earlier in the year, he's great at supporting roles like Death Becomes Her and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like he maybe should have done more movies like that.
I think because Death Becomes Her isn't a hit either, that kept him in this vein. It seems that Striking Distance was basically the next thing he films. There's something maybe in between, but it's clear that
Color of Night is after this.
Yeah, so they gotta. He must be getting action parts nonetheless, and he has to take them to survive.
Right.
So
pay the bills.
My point of having him pop up in the three films we've had him covered for is that they're all good. And I guarantee back in the early 90s, everyone had sort of written him off. And that's why he and John Travolta are supposedly their careers are revived by Pulp Fiction. But at least Bruce is doing good work anyway. People just weren't appreciating it.
The sad part is, like, he's part of that triptych of
Bruce.
action heroes during that time with Sly and Arnold, and they're still doing quality work.
Right, you got Terminator 2 and Cliffhanger.
Critical darlings.
Right. Yeah, Bruce is kind of off to the side. So
yeah, and he's the one with debatably the most range.
Right. I would agree with that. Yeah. He definitely gets to show it here. I think there's a lot of nice touches with his chemistry with Sarah Jessica Parker. They could have taken their relationship to a very strange level, but they sort of understand each other right from the beginning, and he presents key moments where he acknowledges that she's good at her job. Like with the rope thing, he when becoming a boat cop has no time for Timothy Busfield, who is like a nagging superior, and so he lets him fall off the boat when Timothy Busfield takes too long removing the rope from his boat. But when Sarah Jessica Parker shows up, Bruce Willis dismisses her because she's a woman, but she does everything correct right away. And he's like, "Oh, I could get along with her." And as their relationship,
he also notices that she braces herself too. He was like,
"Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah, that's the moment where the two of them, unspoken, understand each other." So stuff like that Rowdy Harrington allows to breathe. Bruce and Sarah both have moments where they can acknowledge each other without pointing it out very obviously, So I appreciate that. Like a movie like this doesn't usually lend itself to have moments like that, but allowing the relationship to build from those moments, I think, gives this a better quality.
I think they added in scenes with her because she's kind of got a little bit of a thankless role in the second half of the film. But there's a reshot scene where they're obviously wearing wigs. That's really bad.
Yeah.
But I think they bulked up her role based on, also she was ascending in popularity around this time. Hocus Pocus had come out,
right?
And, L.A. Story and stuff like that. So she was on the rise. Yeah. So maybe they added more scenes with her based on that.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything on like when this was made. I was curious because Hocus Pocus I thought was sort of delayed a little bit, and then they ended up putting it in July, and so I wasn't sure which was shot first. I couldn't find that for either.
Right.
But I liked her performance nonetheless. It's kind of I wouldn't be surprised if they both bulked it up because they liked what she was doing.
Now, in terms of this being a murder mystery, was anybody surprised by the reveal at the end?
I mean, I probably shouldn't have been.
Right.
But like it was a bit too shark jumpy.
They do I mean, for me, like sprinkle in some red herrings. Like Tom Sizemore at one point says, "I gotta go meet a girl." They're just like, well, obviously he's not the culprit because that was too obvious of a clue.
I thought it could have happened if they didn't make it subtler.
Right.
So I think you're supposed to want that to be that easy. I don't know. But
I don't know.
I thought maybe he continued the killings for his brother. Maybe it was both of them, There were a couple of options.
Like a Scream type thing.
My suspension of disbelief was not as good as the suspension on the cop cars in these old movies.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's always fascinated me. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these things are like woo, 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 woo.
That car chase where they're going over hills in that park.
I know Pittsburgh is hilly, and San Francisco is usually the hallmark for car chase scenes because of how angular their streets are. But I don't think Pittsburgh gets enough credit. They focus on this in Jack Reacher as well, where it's kind of, you're going up and down everywhere in that city as well. So, like we said, if it was called Three Rivers, I think people would appreciate it more.
Oh, yeah.
All the second unit photography is great in this. It's very pulse pounding.
Yeah.
Great.
Even if the story goes astray.
Yeah. How did you feel about Robert Pastorelli? In his Wikipedia, it says it lists a couple of his films in the paragraph about his work, but in this part it says, and a career-defining turn as a psychopathic serial killer in Striking Distance, a role he wasn't appreciated for at the time, though the box office doesn't reflect that. It's like, okay, someone clearly loves Striking Distance that wrote his Wikipedia article. But I thought it was a little hammy. fits the film like a guilty pleasure.
Around this time, he was doing Murphy Brown, so I couldn't see him as anything but the contractor at Murphy Brown's house. So I guess it was a little jarring to see him in a. He's not even really menacing. He's more petulant than anything else. I do like the motif that they play Low Red Riding Hood before each murder.
Yeah, that was cool.
But when it is revealed at the end, it's kind of a Shaggy Dog story by that.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, all right.
Oh yeah, sure. I guess they never found his body after he jumped off.
Yeah, I mean,
they didn't even.
They said that. They said they couldn't find his mother either.
Yeah.
It was a little
cover up.
It was a cover up. That's true.
It does just point out how corrupt cops were in this film. So.
Yeah, and then like that one guy, what was the name of the sergeant that kept like making Bruce Willis's life a living hell?
Oh, Brian James.
Yeah, it was like the epitome of like being an asshole just to be an asshole.
Yeah,
I'm like, guy was just doing his job, yo.
Right.
Just
he's one good guy in a bad situation.
Right.
Well, he's
getting tied back to
feelings quite figured out just yet.
He's one good guy with a depilatory disorder in a bad situation.
God.
Sorry.
Yeah, just the fact that like all of the connections coming back to him. Like he was basically trying to get framed as well. It was just like there was a lot going on.
It is funny that Robert Pastorelli's character chose to kill women that are related to Bruce as if he was jealous. I don't know they never really established what he would be a jealous for. It's just he couldn't handle his liquor.
It was just petty.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it might have been jealousy, but then like he was just getting even because he reported him.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's a little thin.
What's the best way to like screw with somebody? Just like
murder their
lovers.
Like you had intimate, like it's a James Bond thing. Like you had relations that you had like closeness. I'm gonna take that away from you because I'm the bad guy.
Honestly,
and like the ending was kind of Bondian a little bit.
Yeah, he's kind of an outlandish supervillain. Yeah.
Yes, he's very resilient. I'll give him that.
Yeah. I did like all the boat stuff though. Like you said, all the second unit work went really well, but I'm also particularly thinking of like when they're shooting from the boat at what is supposedly the serial killer's car, the locations with which they park, the fact that Bruce jumps off to get on that one trawler, like everything works well and never feels like it doesn't make sense.
So, you don't make sense.
It gave the movie a mystique that distinguishes it from other action movies around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pittsburgh does become like a character somewhat in the movie.
Yeah, I know we love that, but
yeah,
I think it's the best part of it. When you set a film in a certain place, it really lends itself to you want to have that city absorb the characters.
Yeah,
right.
This film, like, it checked all the boxes of like your typical, police thriller, including, the male and female partner having a romance halfway through the movie. I'm like, come on, man. Of course he did.
Can't keep it.
Although that did lead to,
but it's Bruno.
My favorite line in the movie, which is when they're talking about like, well, what should we do? Like talking about how it's a conflict of interest, and like, well, we could shoot each other. And then one says, that'll be too much paperwork. I'm like that's it. That's what the movie's about.
I did love
the core of the story is that moment right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they really did establish that relationship pretty well. And it actually surprised me that they would still want to see each other after she sort of screws him over.
Right.
He's just like, I don't know. I still like you.
Because he's a good...
Only sorta. She she had a change of heart. And, she
still helps him.
Yeah.
Do you have like a standout actor in the supporting cast that you like particularly?
I always like Dennis Farina, so I was excited to see him have a pretty meaty role. And he used to be an actual Chicago policeman, so I think this
exactly
lends himself. It's like all the people that were in The Sopranos playing gangsters. They knew what they were doing because they'd done.
But yeah, he goes back and forth because he plays police and gangsters in the movies too.
Yeah, but yeah, he just fits that type of role, and this is one of the benefits of casting him in this. He was a police consultant for Michael Mann for a couple of his things too, like Thief and Miami Vice. So.
And he's in Manhunter.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What about you?
I think Tom Sizemore. He's just perfect at playing sleazy. It's funny because last month we saw him kind of play rascally, but he's still kind of there's never a role where he isn't somewhat of a sinner. So it's interesting to see him because a few years after this, he'll be the lead in The Relic, where he's like the lead detective, and he's more wholesome. So it's interesting to see he has a little bit of a range.
Yeah. The 90s were really his time. Like with our 4 films we chose, they were a good example of all his work. Even Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I think that's what you chose, right, Jeff?
For which one?
Tom Sizemore last month.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Yeah,
just like that's what I picked.
Yeah,
sure, that's the ticket.
I don't know, man. Last month was 3,000 years ago. So
yep.
Go watch the link if you want to see my choice.
Yeah. What about you guys? Do you like anyone in particular?
I'm gonna agree with Corey on Tom Sizemore a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't go wrong with Tom Sizemore until he starts getting his hands on drugs and like.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Jesus.
That's just mirroring his real life.
Can't deal with him.
I mean, that's where his magic came from. I get like.
Where's magic?
It worked till it didn't.
He burned brightest until he couldn't.
That magic dust.
All right.
Can we not end on a sour note like that?
I'm trying to think of anything else. Anyone else that we didn't mention? I'm glad you brought up Brian James.
But yeah, Timothy Busfield though, he was mostly a TV actor.
Yeah, I mean, he
nice
pops up next, Little Big League, but
right.
He's also in Field of Dreams. He's in 2 of the best baseball movies.
Well, I only heard one of them.
So Andre Braugher, this is his second thing he's ever done for like Homicide and all the other stuff. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, of course, but he has a decent scene discussing the case with Sarah Jessica Parker. So it was cool to see him young.
Yeah, that was nice. It was just like, he's gonna be a cop now forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be
he fits it too. He has that authoritarian in his face.
It did I mean, one of he's not in it for very long, but the first thing I had on my notes was, hey, it's the dad from Frasier.
Yeah, yep. John Mahoney.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good old
John Mahoney.
He's great.
Also a Chicago guy. Both he and Farina started in the Steppenwolf Theater.
Yeah.
And we had just got to see him earlier in the year in Barton Fink.
True. A little bit. If anyone watched that this year.
If anybody watched.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great character actor, popping up in a lot of things in the 90s. And of course, big claim to fame for Frasier. When did that start? This year? 93?
When did Cheers end?
93, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't know how long the turnaround was between that and Frasier, but
I feel like it was the next fall.
Makes sense. And now
1993. Yeah.
As we're recording, there's a new iteration of Frasier coming on the air next month.
Yeah. Oh yeah, September 16th was the day. We're recording on September 17th, which happens to be the date this came out 30 years ago. By the way, I love when that happens. But
perfect.
September 16th, the day before, was the day Frasier premiered. So if you happen to catch that on TV and then went to see Striking Distance, you're like, who's that guy? That guy's great.
He's not supposed to be there without Eddie.
Yeah. So
I wish Eddie had a cameo.
Even though this didn't make more than like $3 million, I think. What do we say?
Well, it bumped off.
Oh, it made $8 million. It came in first. This, I think, is the first or second film we got in first place this year. but then it didn't really do much else.
It dropped off immediately.
Still a good week for John Mahoney. So,
no, Bruce was doing movies that maybe in the test of time haven't really stood up. At least he was still making money for studios.
Yeah. I still like this movie though. Nice surprise, because I was nervous. I'd seen a scene a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this looks like a fun noir set in the 90s, because I caught the scene where Tom Sizemore comes home to Bruce Willis. I'm like, ooh, this is moody. It's set in a houseboat. You don't see that a lot anymore. So
yeah, you don't see houseboats that much these days.
Yeah,
he's like Murtaugh.
Yeah, so I'd give this an A for sure.
Wow,
definitely a guilty pleasure, but I'd watch it again in a couple of years or so if it's on TV.
I'd probably go B-. I like it. The caper aspect's a little predictable. The whodunit stuff is very predictable. It's derivative. It's outlandish, but that's part of its charm. It exploits the location very well, and Bruce is always good at being stoic. He excels and stuff like that, and it's got a great gallery of character actors.
Mm-hmm.
I give it a B. I liked it. Like I said, it was a solid thriller. A little bit chaotic toward the end, but like I wasn't necessarily bored.
Yeah.
Or as bored as I have been on some other things we've watched, but
yeah,
like Billy Bathgate.
Yeah.
For a hidden gem, this is definitely this falls into that category, because it was enjoyable to see the character actor work, and I don't know. I genuinely like it was a solid thriller. So
yeah.
How about you, Jimmy?
Solid A. Yeah. Good round A.
Yeah.
If Jimmy doesn't give something an A, then you know it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
It's basically A or B.
You know what I mean?
Or A or C.
It's like the Asian standard. Like you got to get A. Anything below an A is like a fail. So if I give something a B, then like
I gotta one of these days sit down and go through our videos and see what our grades were for everything. See if there's actually a pattern.
Yeah. No, I definitely have given good movies B's before.
Because I don't pay attention to what you guys do. I know I try to give a range. I know I don't really ever give anything a D or an F, but
have we ever given anything an F?
I think Billy Bathgate, I was about to say, I feel like that's the worst one, and it's not even that bad. It's kind of boring.
Air America was pretty bad.
I know you hate that.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything I really hated. Yeah. I'm glad we all like this. I was worried this was going to be a stinker. So.
Well, he's got plenty. He's got plenty more movies that we could talk about.
The worst,
really, just the name.
The worst part of the movie for me was Brian James.
Yeah, he's pretty standard
in that role.
He was just like he was too intense in his hatred.
Yeah, he had no reason to be mad either. Bruce is just doing his job, but I guess there's going to be some alpha male taking you down a peg.
He's holding the line, you know. He's the original Back the Blue, you know.
Yeah.
I saw you instead of doing your paperwork, you were playing that harmonica. What do you think you're doing? Go back to that club, that blues club. There were other films that came out this month. Obviously didn't make it to #1, but California with a K, which is a serial killer movie with Brad Pitt, Juliette Lewis, Dave Duchovny. Dave Duchovny plays a journalist who's researching serial killers, and just by happenstance picks up one.
Huh. That's what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
Very contrived.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard good and bad things. So if you really like it, you love it. If you don't, you hate it.
I was not a fan.
Okay.
It's very stereotypical. Juliette Lewis is playing her white trash role, which she was doing a lot of in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt's a bit too much of a dullard in the movie to be a serial killer, so I wasn't convinced by him in the role either.
Shame.
Well, he's still coming off of that shitty movie that we almost watched for the podcast.
Oh, Johnny Suede?
Yeah, Johnny Suede.
I thought you were going to say True Romance. I'm like, how dare you, sir?
Oh yeah, he did that in between. That's really when he started getting seen. Thelma and Louise and Johnny
If
Swift.
that character was a serial killer, that's basically what this would be. The slacker
Yeah.
on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this movie came out limited and then went wide. The Joy Luck Club.
Mm-hmm.
The the
adaptation of Amy Tan's novel.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I can't vouch for its quality. But has anybody else seen it or read the book?
We read it for English class in sophomore year, I think. So that might have not come to you guys because I think you guys had different teachers. But I remember seeing a scene and I was like, "This is pretty well done. I should watch this someday." Never got around to it. I like Ming Na though, so I want to see it someday. Did you watch it?
I didn't.
Okay, I've heard good things.
Obviously, I didn't read ahead because True Romance came out this month.
Oh right.
So,
which one came out first?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, True Romance came out this month, which many people think is Tony Scott's masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really good crime thriller. It's actually an early script by Quentin Tarantino. And talk about a gallery character actors. Actually, Tom Sizemore shows up in this.
What? He's in everything.
Yeah, he's in a lot of movies this year.
He just doesn't quit.
Tell you, burn bright.
The movie itself is a great serpentine, like very unrepentantly violent crime drama with Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. Gary Oldman in a role that you couldn't do nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Plays like a Rastafarian gangster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the movie's a lot of fun.
Have you guys seen it, Jeff and Jimmy?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Tarantino stuff, you'll like this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like if Reservoir Dogs is his first film, this is 0.5. It was like a test to see if he was good.
Right.
So.
So then a movie with a tragic backstory called Money for Nothing came out.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's based on a true story about this guy who found an armored truck, dropped a bag of money, and he found it on the side of the road at I want to say it was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Took it and tried money laundering it, and it spiraled out of control. In real life, the guy committed suicide right around the time of the release of the film.
Yeah, like August '93.
The movie itself kind of whitewashes his image because, by all accounts, he was a bit of a junkie, and they don't go into any of that in the movie. They almost make him like kind of a Robin Hood type figure, which seems kind of disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth watching, unfortunately, even for John Cusack, just like myself.
Damn. I would have wanted to watch it. Oh, Benicio del Toro's in it though, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, and James Gandolfini.
Yeah, See, there's another
good cast. Michael Madsen.
He plays the detective
on
his trail.
Lenny Venito's in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a connection
there.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch it nonetheless.
Yeah,
for that cast, just to see it. I know, you go with lower expectations.
Sure,
you're fine with it.
Kind of a underrated Scorsese movie because it's a change of pace for him. Age of Innocence came out.
Mm-hmm.
The first collaboration with Daniel Day-Lewis. It's not like the typical Scorsese movie because it's a period piece. And I think, honestly, he excels with this movie. I think the movie's lush. It's beautiful.
It's set in the Gilded Age and is about the intricacies in romantic society and the hierarchy between the people that lived on the Upper West Side and the people that lived down from Midtown South. because Midtown wasn't really developed yet. Times Square was just forming. And so the people that really owned power in the city were surrounding Central Park. That's why it became such a big area. And that's why all those mansions are so expensive now. But at the time, there was like a handful of people that owned everything because they were Vanderbilt or other barons of society, of industry in society. And so the parties that people would hold, you had to know who had the cards at the door. Like you would go to a place, some servant would send their card to let you know that they were coming to the party a week from now. And everyone knew who was on the list. So that was how anyone knew how anything got done. And all the business was done at these parties. So it's almost like a Gangs of New York or a Goodfellas, but what's happening in New York, like at the highest level in the 1890s.
He takes that aesthetic and puts it into like a Merchant Ivory movie.
Right. And so Daniel Day-Lewis is of money. Michelle Pfeiffer is new money. Mm-hmm. And Winona Ryder is also of money, but they're both in love with him, and there's a bit of a love triangle. It's expected that Daniel Day-Lewis should end up with Winona Ryder, but he wants Michelle Pfeiffer, and it goes on from there. So
have you seen it, Tristan?
Yeah, that's why I know what to say.
I love it.
Yeah, you made a big deal of me not liking it as much when I first saw it, but the more I think of it, it's haunting, especially the final shot. So it's definitely it's different from your typical Scorsese film, but it's just, you see everything he does in his other films in the cinematography and the performances. It's definitely easy to see someone putting that at the top of their list. So. The Scorsese doesn't like top 10s, apparently. Again? The Age of Innocence. You'd like it, actually.
You would like it, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I probably would.
I watched it with you sleeping in the next room.
So you kind of watched it through osmosis. So speaking of somebody coming of age, the movie that put this filmmaker on the map, I think, more so than even his earlier movies, and a movie that's probably a cult classic now, is Dazed and Confused for Richard Linklater. I think this is the movie that probably is going to be on his epitaph. But this is wild because we've been talking about a lot of movies this episode about amazing ensembles, and talk about an amazing ensemble in this. You got early role for Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, Adam Goldberg. Mm-hmm. A lot of people pop up in this, and it's episodic. It's kind of it's like the definitive hangout movie.
Yeah,
but I love the movie.
We talk about that we couldn't really make an American Graffiti today because it would take place in like 2012 based on the distance it was, covering. But Dazed and Confused does that for the 80s. Yeah. And it's sort of like the American Graffiti of 93.
Yeah.
Because it all takes place in one night in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that night before you realize you're an adult, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so. American Graffiti has the same thing when they're graduating.
Mm-hmm.
A repugnant movie that probably blemished this young actor's career. The Good Son came out this month.
Repugnant, really?
It's horrible.
I've never seen it.
The movie's tasteless. It's Macaulay Culkin basically playing a juvenile delinquent. And he takes his cousin, I think it's his cousin, Elijah Wood, under his wing to show him how to, throw dummies off of overpasses so that cars will have pileups.
You're just mad because you like
simple pranks.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And doesn't he get a comeuppance in the end or something?
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, that's why you hate it, because you like
everything up until then's horrible.
Okay.
It's just it makes you feel filthy.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's concerning.
Maybe you'll like it. It's malicious in a way that you probably appreciate, you sick bastard.
Yeah. I hate Home Alone, so.
Oh, then you'll like it. This is like if Kevin was a serial killer.
Good.
If Kevin was Jeffrey Dahmer, this is what this movie would be.
Yeah.
So like what everybody thinks Home Alone is anyway.
This is the real version of Home Alone.
Yeah.
He's setting up traps for people. Robert De Niro has directorial debut this month.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
With a great adaptation of Chaz Palminteri's Broadway show, A Bronx Tale. Phenomenal movie. Probably, if we hadn't done Striking Distances, probably would have been the other one. But I think it's pretty well
popular
loved.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
People know this for it making Chaz Palminteri's career.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I would love to have seen the stage version of this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a one-man show.
Yeah.
Jeff might know more about this.
Now, you said musical, but I think it was a one-man show to begin with, and now it's a musical because I think they readapted it.
Incidentally, it's a slightly larger cast. I'm actually not too familiar with the show or the movie.
Okay.
I don't know anything either, just that it made Chaz.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if anybody gets a chance, definitely check out the movie. The movie's fantastic. It's with De Niro had chops behind the camera.
It's on the list
to direct more.
Yeah, because Good Shepherd's decent.
Yeah,
this is good.
But those are the only two movies he's directed.
Yeah.
The movie that probably was the flagship HBO TV film, and the band played on.
Oh, Jamie and I watched this.
Yeah, it's and it was also at the height of us being aware of the AIDS epidemic, and that's what the movie's about.
Do you remember watching this, Jimmy? With what is his name? The main guy.
Matthew Modine.
Yeah, Matthew Modine, and he's a doctor that investigates the AIDS virus.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, no, that was a good movie. I liked it.
We watched it early in the pandemic, which was
I do. Yeah, okay, there we go.
Trying to find vaccines and stuff.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Steve Martin has that cameo. Pretty good. Yeah.
He's playing a wild and crazy guy.
Well,
with a communicable disease.
No, his brother has it, I think, and he's rich, so he wants to figure out what's wrong with him, so he'll pay for it. But like he helps bankroll some of the investigation into the science.
Played by Rick Moranis.
That'd
have been cool.
No,
but this movie, I guess up until then, most TV films had a bad rap because they had low production value. They looked kind of cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were like, and a movie like this would be like a Hallmark movie or an ABC movie of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But this actually looked like it was shot cinematically. So I could actually see. I think you and I were talking about when we discussed this. A movie got legitimacy in my mind if it had a small theatrical run or was talked about on Siskel and Ebert. And I remember them reviewing this.
Yeah.
And they said this could have played in theaters.
And that's sort of what HBO wanted because they were like, it's not TV, it's HBO. They were trying to make
that slogan, yeah,
things like And the Band Played On have legitimacy in people's minds. Because when you went to TV as an actor, it looked like you were going on a lower level. But they wanted people like Matthew Modine and Steve Martin, who did this uncredited cameo, and that's why I brought him up, because it looked like it was shameful for him to have taken a role in a TV movie. But that was the point. They wanted this to become the standard. And now today, you have things like, I was going to go see the new Gael Garcia Bernal movie, Cassandra, in theaters, but it's, by the time this comes out on, on the YouTube and stuff, Cassandra's on Amazon. So it's because it has the week-long release, but it's really an Amazon movie. They got the
That Killers of the Flower Moon's going to have a small theatrical run that's going to Apple TV,
and that's Scorsese. So it's kind of it's kind of the standard now. So And the Band Plays On is more important than people realize just for covering the AIDS epidemic. It's the standard bearer for what will become streaming essentially. So we see the lines flowing from '93 there.
So 30 years after, now we're here.
I think it's a good and bad thing because then you have the quality, but then there's a glut of films that aren't as good being stuck in streaming. So then you have to sift for the quality, find the hidden gems. But I don't know that The Poster Boy is a hidden gem per se, so I had never heard of it.
It's not.
He's like, no, it's terrible. Oh, Ghost too.
So,
what?
I'd like you to describe what's happening in this poster, and then I have a question for you.
Okay, so backdrop is a bright, cloudy blue sky with a couple embracing, and the dude holding her from behind also has rollerblades hanging over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
They both look like they're from some humdrum country town, and he tries to spice up their life a little bit by getting involved in inline skating.
The local preacher won't let him.
Is that
God damn you, John Lithgow?
Even close to the plot? Because that wasn't the question, but I like how your mind worked there.
I like what you're thinking, kid.
Yeah.
She's a simple country gal.
You know what's funny?
Is that basically the plot? Because I never looked this up.
He's a wannabe. It's like the founding of the X Games. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Those rollerblades are a red herring.
Oh, that's funny. Okay,
this is total false advertising.
Let me ask you, given that they're in the lower left corner of the poster, what do you think is in the sky? Because obviously I've removed it.
The title or a tagline or a UFO? Is there a UFO?
I wish.
Is it an airplane?
No.
It's a gigantic.
Is it a plane? Is it Superman?
No, you've got none of them. I'll just give you one of them.
It's more rollerblade. Is this hackers? No, this isn't hackers.
Hackers.
It's skate ninjas.
Skate ninjas.
Don't know why they're showing rollerblades in this fucking poster.
Blades of glory.
Given that Corey said this is not what this is about, what would you say is the plot of this film?
Some guy trying to find himself and impress a gal. That's literally. If it's not about rollerblades, I have no idea.
I know.
If it's not about
nothing, so we don't
this guy
for that.
Wait, hang on. So at some point, this guy has to figure out how to save the world. There's going to be a bomb that's diffused.
That's like gleaming the cube kind
and he uses the rollerblades to get there as fast as he can. After the entire movie, people have said, "Why are you?" The entire movie, people said, "Why are you rollerblading? You look like an idiot. You look like a punk." Yeah. And then he saves the day by rollerblading to the bomb that he needs to defuse to keep the hospital of children from collapsing.
Better than the Flash.
Wait.
I was gonna say he puts one in a microwave.
This is actually a Nolan film. This is a Joker origin story. This is how he got the scars.
Oh my god!
Because he tripped.
Yeah, because he tripped.
Look at him. He's not wearing protective gear at all. He's not wearing a helmet. He's not wearing knee pads.
He's got cut off jeans. He's gonna skin the shit off.
He's just
no. You know what it is. You know what it is.
That shit in the movie. I don't know why.
He meets that dream girl of his in the afterlife because he smashed his fucking head open on a curb.
Oh, so given that you said that, given that what is happening in this poster, what would you call
it? Airtime.
He's close.
What are they right now?
Getting some air.
Kind of. What is the word for that?
Lift off. Lift off? No.
Air's in the title.
It's a synonym. Yeah, you were closer, but you had a synonym.
Jordan, Air Bud. Oh my god, is this the kid that turns into the dog?
That would be great.
That is not the plot of Air Bud.
Air Bud Origins.
That is not the plot of Air Bud.
Michael Jeter gives him the formula.
I left this for the end.
Shaggy dog.
Getting some air.
I left this for the end. I should have had the title come up first, but it's Airborne.
Airborne.
So you kind of had it by lift off. You know, it's tough to get that from this. This is giving nothing. So now that you know the title and you know nothing of the plot still, what would you say? Give a tagline to Airborne.
Some days are just not in line with the others.
Not in line with the others.
Ugh.
You're doing better than they did, because man wasn't meant to fly, kids were. Here's another tagline.
What?
Mitchell became the most popular guy on earth once he took to the sky.
And heroes aren't made, they're airborne. So
How many taglines do they need?
They had a
Right.
and what is I've never seen a tagline curved like that over their head.
Yeah, and this is not photoshopped. Man is blurring into the clouds, so it took me a lot to squint and figure out what that actually said. That's why I just said it for you, because it would take forever to read that. There's no
Heroes aren't
surprise
made,
that this failed.
they're airborne. So he's a superhero.
What is the actual plot, Corey?
Okay, so Mitchell is a surfer. He's not a rollerblader.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
He's a surfer who gets relocated to a new school and has to live with his cousin, played by Seth Green. The movie's like ginger representation all over the place. That Mitchell kid has burnt orange hair. Everybody in the movie has burnt orange hair.
Why do they have rollerblades?
Because he rollerblades to the beach so he could surf.
So
and then at one point he's playing hockey too. So this kid's like a jack of all trades with any like recreational sport.
Yeah. So they just took some quick Photoshop shots and
yeah.
I mean, Photoshop did it exist in '93? I forget.
I mean, fair enough. He rollerblades quite a bit in the movie, but he's primarily a surfer.
Yeah.
And there's a bully in the movie that I swear was one of the faculty.
Mm-hmm.
The dude looked like he was in his mid-30s. But interesting piece of trivia. One of the bully's lackeys is played by Jack Black.
Oh.
He actually has a big role in the movie.
Is it like the first role he had?
He was in Neverending Story 3 or 2.
Okay.
I don't know if that was before or after this.
Yeah. It's funny because Photoshop had just debuted in 1990. I just looked it up. I never knew. But Photoshop 2.5 came out in 1992 and was the first available for Windows. So I wonder if this is what they did. They're like, I can whip something up real quick.
Yeah.
And ironically, 30 years later, here I am using generative fill to take that stuff away and just have a cloud background.
Well, here to undo what they did.
What disaster they wrought. So.
What fresh hell is this?
What a terrible film it looks like. Was it bad? You've seen it, I guess?
It's okay.
Okay.
It looks like
it's better than Ski School that I had to suffer through earlier.
Yeah.
It looks like a straight to video superhero movie.
I was shocked that this even got a theatrical release.
Yeah, I didn't see it come up when I was looking at the box office, so it didn't make the top 10 if it even got in there.
There you go.
Also,
it could have been straight to video eventually.
Yeah. Quick sidebar. We mentioned Jack Black. Jack Black's first role ever was teen wearing hat in the 1982 commercial for Pitfall on Atari.
Oh,
wow.
Really? You just knew this?
No, I just looked it up.
The
hell do you think I'm doing over here?
I was gonna be impressed with you because I didn't see your fast hands typing away.
He's an autobiographer.
No.
I thought you were just a big Jack Black fan.
I just like Jack Black.
Yeah. Seems like someone you'd love.
And now we will all know that. That is a thing we all know now.
Yeah.
So when someone starts talking about how awesome Jack Black is, you can say,
Did you know?
And then they'll be like, all right, moving on with my day.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that? Well, the Interjections podcast.
Have you seen our podcast?
I learned it from Jeff, who's basically his biographer.
I learned it from watching you.
So who do you think we should cover for picks of the month? I made a suggestion in the guide that I gave you guys last night at like 11 p.m.
Sarah Jessica?
Yeah, there's Sarah Jessica Parker. We didn't cover in LA Story, and Dennis Farina had a significant role in this, so I'd think either of them would work. They both have good enough filmographies that we could drum something up for either of them. We covered Bruce during Death Becomes Her, and we had Tom Sizemore last month, so.
I got my Sarah Jessica Parker.
I know what I would have, though.
Yeah. Sarah Jessica Parker, I kind of have only one choice, really.
Yeah.
It involves magic and Halloween.
Yeah, what's that?
She was in Practical
Hocus
Magic.
Pocus. Yeah.
Hocus Pocus. Yeah.
She was in the
be Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a good choice. Is that Jeff's pick though? Because I could see him picking Hocus Pocus.
That's bogus.
Hang on, I gotta go through. No, I actually didn't like Hocus, but
Oh yeah, thank you, Jeff.
You didn't like Hocus Pocus? I thought you did.
It was okay.
Or,
I don't love it. I like the second one better.
Yeah. Weird. All right, let's see if
I'm looking.
let's see if you have the pick I would go with. Because if not, I'll try to choose something else.
I'll probably pick one that I don't think anybody's gonna talk about. Just because she has a bigger role in it than the other 3 movies, that would probably be my top pick.
Okay.
Extreme Measures.
Ooh, good choice. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you know.
You know what I'm gonna pick?
Maybe.
Mars Attacks.
Oh, good. That's what
that was the other. That was the one I would have picked, but she.
Yeah, that's right. She is in that movie. I forgot.
So,
She's barely in it. So.
You guys want to guess what I would pick?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
It's the other one with Tim Burton.
Yeah, Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good. We all picked different things without having a shuffle. Yeah, she had a pretty good 90s as well, obviously. We just picked her next 4 films.
When did Sex and the City start?
2000, 98.
Okay.
I think. I didn't write it down in our guide. I just said that she did it. So.
Actually, there's a movie I thought you were gonna pick.
What's that?
State and Maine.
State and Maine is a good film. I forget her in that. Who did she play in that?
She plays the bumbling blonde actress.
The one that Alec Baldwin supposedly slept with?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the things I remember from that are mainly William H. Macy and Philip Seymour Hoffman. They're so good in that.
Fair.
I mean, William H. Macy, I think, gets all the credit for Fargo, and then he did Shameless later, obviously, but he's so good in State and Maine. That's the thing you want to watch for him.
Underrated movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's 01, so we're not going to cover it. But I get a William H. Macy film in 98. So yeah, I think we picked 4 good films. She had, just like Tom Sizemore, she was getting big in the 90s. So obviously parlayed that into a very successful TV show. So yeah.
What are we gonna cover next month?
Well, I forget exactly what this is about, but I'll try to stumble through it. A film called Judgment Night, where 4 guys, their car breaks down, or they get into trouble because of a bachelor party, possibly both. I don't know exactly, and I've tried not to look it up so I can be surprised when we watch it. But
okay,
I know Emilio Estevez is in it, and there's 3 of his friends, and I think they get into like dangerous neighborhood, and they have to fight some gangs or something.
Oh,
I forget exactly. Yeah, what's the plot?
One of them gets they're supposed to go to a boxing match. They got tickets for a boxing match. They turn in the wrong neighborhood.
Okay.
And they witness murder.
Okay. And then those murderers chase them.
Another one takes place over one night.
Yeah. Love when that happens.
Dennis Leary plays the villain.
Ooh. Ooh. He might be our pick of the month.
I'm telling you.
That'd be a good one. All right, cool. And just to say it now before I forget in the actual episode, we wanted to go with Judgment Night because we'd done Hot Shots Part 2 earlier in the year. So now we're getting both brothers.
Right.
So.
And Martin didn't do anything this year.
Yeah. All right, well, glad we had a nice surprise with Striking Distance. I hope you all enjoyed our discussion of that. But we'll see you next month for Judgment Night.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see if Jimmy's computer works this time.
Yeah. Well, we'll just continue using my tablet instead.
Which worked fine.
Yeah, that's worked fine.